Ladies and gentlemen, Fire Commission meeting for Wednesday, April 10th is now beginning. It is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we have a quick roll call. I'm here, David's here, Ken is not. He is off traveling, is that what I understand? Thomas is here, Donna's here, John is here, Brian is here. We have more than a quorum, so we can get into business. I would like to before we really dive into the agenda, say that I want to alter it a bit today. We will go in order down through 4. When we get to 5, I will hold my comments to the end. And I would like to have the commissioners who have things to bring to the table other than the 150th anniversary. To do them at that time, we'll hold the 150th to the last after the chief's report. Because I want as much flexible time there to play with as we can. That said, then in order, do we have any members of the public? Certainly not in the room that I'm aware of. So do we have a electronically?
We do not.
We do not. All right. We'll keep our eyes open, ears open, and look at the door. And the first thing of business is to review and comment on the minutes of our last meeting. Are there any additions, omissions, or corrections from anybody? Sound of silence. I have one, and it's administrative. Thomas, Mr. Chung was with us at our last meeting.
Correct.
Electronically.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, but he wasn't listed on the, he wasn't listed as an attendee, right?
He was not listed as an attendee,
Right.
but what I'd like to do in the future for those where that might happen is just to create a
Yeah.
fire commissioner attended via.
Okay, I just want to be clear though, that he was basically a member of the public, so
I
we'll
understand
make
that because he didn't have any voting rights at the time.
we'll make a differentiation on there, and I can change that, if you'd like that, and then we'll.
Whatever's most comfortable for you.
We'll put his
Because
name on there,
his name comes up on page 3,
right,
no reference that he
Right.
was even here.
okay.
That is the only change to the minutes I am aware of. Do I hear a motion to accept otherwise as presented? So moved. Is there a second?
Okay.
Okay, David, thank you. And all in favor of accepting?
Aye.
Yes, and unanimous, that takes care of the minutes. Fire Foundation. Ms. Collins.
Yes, so, I brought today brochures that you can hand out to anyone that might be interested in volunteering or serving on the board of the Fire Foundation. John had asked me for kind of a profile of what the board is looking for. Having been a volunteer now for 7 years for the foundation, I will tell you, they really need energy. They to sit at a meeting is not what they need. They need people who want to get out and work on the different projects that they do for fundraising and network with the community. Obviously, the crab feed is a major endeavor that takes a lot of energy from a lot of volunteers. So I just feel that my perception, and I think that Len Thompson would agree, is we need some younger blood in there that it's very social and engaging with the community, that is comfortable going out and talking about the foundation and networking. I worked on the auction, getting donations one year. That's a monolithic task, just organizing the auction, much less getting all the donations, getting them in the first place. And I've seen different organizations where they have a whole crew of people that just work on that, not one person. It was basically Len and his wife. And if it weren't for his wife, I don't think it would have even happened. I can see a committee of a dozen people doing that, where maybe 6 of them are out in the community requesting and getting donations, and the other 6 are organizing it, pricing it, packaging it, and working the night of the event. So, I mean, that's a classic example of where they're just so understaffed. And I know there's people that really like to do those kind of things. They like to get out and glad hand and talk to different businesses and support the foundation. So volunteers are desperately needed, also board members that are committed to the cause. So I brought the brochures. Take as many as you would like, that way you have them to share with whomever might come across your path. So that's an update as far as outreach, because we haven't had anybody yet respond, but I don't think that a lot of people realize that it's even something that's open for volunteering too. And then on a different note, the foundation did approve the training for the firefighters to start to get their drone training accomplished. That budget item has been approved and is a go forward. So it's actually starting, I would expect, this month, if not this month, next. So yes,
How much of the budget?
very substantial, more than enough.
Is that including overtime for that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's quite a budget right now in the cookie jar. There's $54,000 as a start, and there's more to come.
For the recruitment efforts, have we used any social media channels or all the other
I don't think
outreach
so.
that we have?
I don't think so, so that would be fabulous if you could put it on there.
Yeah, well, I don't control it. It's through, if we did it through the fire department handles, it would be through Quinn and.
But aren't you helping with the foundation's website too?
Yeah, but there's such limited, I mean,
Access?
yeah, if you want to get eyeballs on it, we'll need to go through probably the next door handle.
So there was a
Facebook.
blurb in the Hot Shot News,
Yeah, I saw that.
but that's again, a very limited audience that receives that.
Yeah,
But it does have a Twitter link, so people who follow us on Twitter can actually link in and see that hot shot, so hopefully it goes to a wider audience.
Good.
Is there a way to put a blurb in the IJ? I know they used to have a section for,
I mean,
the
we
city
could-
has this opening on this.
yeah,
one.
we couldn't get them even to do anything for the crab feed. Yeah, and I went to, what's his name, the former owner?
Jeff Kramer.
Yeah, Jeff. I talked to Jeff for a while and, yeah, we just couldn't get them to do that, even for something as big as the crab feed.
Well,
So,
as
yeah,
sad.
yeah. But I'll make a note to talk to Quinn about it and just see if maybe we can do it on some of
That'd
the
be
next
great.
door,
That
Twitter,
would be
the
great.
social media channels.
Because like I said, I
Um,
can really see, I mean, people could really have fun with it. If you get a group of people that like to do that, and they
Yeah.
do it every year, a dozen people working that would just be a game changer.
So is the ask for the crab feed, so two asks, right? Because one is board members, but then the other is what you mentioned
Volunteers.
about more doers, right?
Volunteers, yeah. Well, because
and-
the foundation could be doing more for the fire department, but we don't have the power, the people.
Yeah,
We could be doing pancake breakfasts, we could be
Right.
doing a lot more interaction with the community, but there's just not, I mean, how do you do it with? We have 5 board members and 2 of them are severely physically
Yeah.
compromised, so I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking really skinny crew.
okay. All right, yeah, I'll work with Quinn on that and also think of some language, so that, because it has to be very concise for social media and what we're specifically
Yeah.
asking for. Yeah,
That'd be great.
I can put anything on Twitter that you develop too, so you can
Okay.
feed that directly to me.
oh, okay, all
Do
right.
you
Great.
handle the Hot Shot News?
Mhm.
Okay, good to know.
So you do that and Quinn doesn't,
What?
the hot shot?
I do the hot shot.
That's all you, okay, all right.
What is this hot shot?
You don't get the hot shot newsletter?
I could-
The
An email that you can subscribe to.
Oh,
And it's.
So it's actually mentioned in the chief's report today.
Yeah, something
Because we
that
want to
you,
make sure that everybody is subscribed to hot shot.
Next, item number 4, current media. I'm gonna run through what is in front of me briefly, only to say that we all have copies. They were emailed out. And you can read them at your pleasure. I've read all of them, and, the rundown on the ride along is, exceedingly interesting / fun, and a lot of you have done that already. So you know. There is the item about, and this, Chief, I know you probably have an internal committee, or at least the union most likely does, to keep all the gear as safe as
That
possible.
was sent to all members.
Yeah, right, okay, got that. There's the article, one in particular, which I found fascinating. We all know, and Ken brings us to the table every time he's here, as he should, and that's the insurance industry going sideways as far as fire coverage is concerned. I found the title initially amusing, but not funny, and that was that, fire itself is not always the issue. This fellow down in Santa Cruz did everything under the sun to fireproof his property, and then it was refused for the very reasons. There's another article that just came out recently that was, at least in the Chronicle, and had to do with insurance companies coming in with a new reason, which is, ready? Density. Which I found interesting because most municipalities under the direction of the state of California are trying to add as much housing as possible. So now you have a mandate for housing, and now you have insurance companies going, no, it's too dense. You wonder if anybody's paying attention. I wonder that. Anyway, all of that is there in the press, as it were. One other thing that came up, and if anybody wants a copy of it just for giggles, for what conversation did they generate? Welcome. There was, State Farm has announced that they are pulling, 60,000 properties are not being renewed. And the article went through every county in the state of California. And so I looked up Marin. So State Farm is not going to renew in Marin in 4 locations. And they give by zip code. So I looked them up. Mill Valley, 25 are not being renewed. Ross, 10 are not being renewed. Green Bay, 7 are not being renewed. And Fairfax, 1 is not being renewed. Maybe the only client they have, I have no idea. But San Rafael, interestingly, was not touched. That's my part of the media. Does anybody else have anything they saw or want to throw on the table to discuss?
Be interesting to understand what the rationale was for those non-renews. And especially given the locations.
This was a recent article and is available if you do Google State Farm non-renewal. It's a whole thing about throughout the state
Yeah,
as to why, but it's basically their version of an impact of fire. And interestingly, they show in some graphics where the major fires were. Of course, up into Santa Rosa and Paradise, those were 2 that jump out on the California map, and there was another 1 or 2 large ones in Southern California. By no means did it eat the entire state. But it was enough for them to go, no, not us, we're out of here, see you later, bye. So, kind of weird in that regard. Any other, you're checking the ceiling or thinking?
I was just thinking, I know there's that FAIR plan,
Mhm.
which is an insurer of last resort, which is essentially the state of California. And I was thinking, I wonder if someone should propose a proposition just to make that the normal insurance. And forget all the private insurers, kick them out of the state, say, fine. The taxpayers will fund themselves and insure themselves.
You're familiar with Dick Sponswood?
Yeah.
Okay, he did a column. I'm gonna say last week or within the last 2 weeks or so. Precisely on that, but brilliantly done because he laid out the groundwork, how it can be done. Reason being, it's already being done with other programs in the state. They just are not doing insurance.
What
Fire
type of other
insurance.
programs did he say?
He lists some, you know, said, to take program A. They got this word, put in fire, and you've got it done, and it was almost that simple. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm gonna go back and get it. And said, what's, Damon Connolly, is he he's our guy? Send it up to him. It's a good idea, you know,
I'm gonna see him in a couple weeks, when he hand it to me.
okay, I'll get it.
Say, Dan, get this done.
You got it done. Yeah, you're right, because I mean, this is my personal opinion, and it's just that you're right. If the insurance companies are just gonna put the squeeze and squeeze and squeeze, and the state has a program, why not really take a look at it and say, okay, we'll be self-insured, basically is what it boils down to.
So I remember in college, my finance professor did a study. Turns out homeowners insurance isn't worth it. You lose money on it in the long run.
Yeah.
And it's really designed for profit for the insurance companies. So the only reason we have to carry it is because the banks mandate it. So
That's right.
house burns down, the bank gets its money back. So maybe we change the law to say, hey, we don't need insurance anymore and you assume your risk and go from there. I don't
Or
know.
have it be optional.
All right.
See the insurance companies then come back. Because all suddenly, oh, we don't need you. I don't know.
But then banks might stop lending and, yeah, that could create a whole slew of issues.
A ripple effect, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, moving on then with no other media to bring to the table, we'll do commissioners' reports, sans the 150th, and hold that for the end. David, anything?
yeah, report.
No, okay. And that's not here. Us,
Nothing to.
all right. Donna and Gad,
Or you did it.
we're screaming through this list. John?
I'll table it for the
Okay, fine. And Brian?
No.
Okay, then take care of those. In that case, then, the next up, chief or chiefs,
Chief's in it.
one of you is on.
Sure,
Chief's in it has the honor.
I'll start off with the chief's report. The first thing is, and this was just brought up a few minutes ago, it's Hot Shot. I want to make sure that everybody is subscribed to Hot Shot. Because that is the bi-weekly informative newsletter, which gives you a lot of insight into the agency. So Thomas, just recently put a link on the main page of the fire website that you can, push and sign up if you haven't done so already. So please don't hesitate. I would appreciate it.
Do we know how many people subscribe to that currently?
Yes, it's under 1,000, but somewhere in that area.
Not enough.
Yeah, maybe we can
Right.
promote that on social media too.
Again, it also gets regenerated on Twitter, so
Yeah.
you know, people can find it there as well, so. And it goes to each and every single city employee and council member. So anyhow, just some information on page 1 regarding various events that the fire department was engaged with. The very nice item, the thank you note regarding the ride-along, Commissioners McCusker and Johnson, Station 57. We regenerated that into Hot Shot. Thank you very much for the picture and for the nice notes. On page 2 is some operations division updates. Just some call activity that we responded on. The first one was, kind of a typical highway collision involving a truck towing a large trailer full of gravel that overturned near the Civic Center northbound just at the start of the commute. And the notable thing about that was, fortunately, there were no serious injuries, but what was great was the freeway had to be shut down, as you can see from the picture in the report. There was gravel all over the roadway. But our firefighters, once they were assured that the patient was taken care of and that the vehicles were stable, they took it upon themselves to break out several brooms and sweep the freeway so they could get lanes open, which I thought was great. That was above and beyond the call. So
Do they have rooms on the truck?
it's part of the salvage equipment. And that was a Friday afternoon commute, which is usually especially thick. And it was right at 4 o'clock. So it was, so I was really, I was impressed with that. So, the second item, we had a fire at Taqueria San Jose, which is almost under the freeway overpass on Fourth Street, in between Irwin and Heatherton. And interestingly enough, the fire started early in the morning. The cause was some faulty electrical, non-permitted wiring that had been installed. But as the fire ignited and started to propagate, there was some exposed water piping, copper water piping that was running along the underside of the ceiling. And the heat actually caused that to fail. And the water, it kind of acted like a sprinkler system and more or less kept the fire in check. Until firefighters could fully extinguish it. When I first got there, the battalion chief said to me, the sprinklers basically saved this place. And I went, this place doesn't have sprinklers. And so it turned out, because it was so dark in there, you couldn't see it at first. So that was
Was
kind of.
it joints in the weld of the copper?
Yeah. Just
That
the
were faulty?
heat no, it just, the heat generated from the fire just caused the exposed piping to fail at one point, and it just sprayed enough water just to kind of keep the fire from really propagating until the firefighters got there. It was pretty funny. Anyway,
Is it reopened? I like.
I don't think it's reopened yet. I'm not sure though. Thomas, do you know?
I do also like to talk
Yeah.
about
they got
They
pretty-
were open for business that day.
Oh, they're on.
Yeah, because it was confined.
That day?
Yeah, they was confined in the storm.
Well, the entire restaurant was smoked out though. Was it really open?
Oh.
then? I don't know if it was open that day. I don't think it could have been open.
Go only.
To go only.
Smoky Chipotle.
The fire was contained, but because it had burned for quite some time and the smoke had been regenerated. The first report was somebody driving by, going to work and saw smoke in the back of the building and called that in. And so upon investigation, then they found there was a fire in the inside. So it had been kind of smoldering in there for quite some time. Another interesting call on March 23rd, a vehicle traveling at high speed, suspected DUI driver crashed over the guardrail on Anderson near Lindara, which is just an overpass that goes over some marshland area. But as the vehicle flipped over the guardrail, hard to see with the picture here, but part of the vehicle landed on an exposed high pressure PG&E gas line. And so the vehicle was resting half on the guardrail and half on this gas line. Fortunately, the gas line wasn't ruptured, but that could have obviously turned into a major incident. So kind of interesting call. And then the next item on the top of page 3 is the update on the new Marin Fire Dispatch Center. Chief Waterbury had requested that we provide some information. He provided us with a series of questions, and the chief wanted to discuss that with you today.
Yeah, good afternoon. So on February 23rd, we did sign the contract to go into contract with the Marin County Fire Department for dispatch services. I'll let Thomas go into the money part of it in a little bit. So we did go into the agreement with them, with all the rest of the fire agencies in Marin County. So that's where we're at as far as the process. On the Marin County side, as far as the building and all that stuff, raising the infrastructure, they are working hard to get everything going, and they expect to have full completion of the communication center by the end of May. Which we're looking at this at June starting, the actual starting of the dispatch center. So they are in the process of that. I was up there the other day and they've advanced pretty good at it. So they're going at a really good pace to get everything done, and they haven't had any major complications. As a matter of fact, they did get they were able to go to bring it a little bit under budget, which is amazing because that usually doesn't happen. So there's a little bit of cost savings that they have in there, and then just moving forward with that.
That's cheap. Is that gonna be on Los Gatos?
Correct. Los Gatos.
Will they get something built out on the golf course?
No, so that'll be the dispatch center at Los Gatos.
It will be.
Yes, it's a permanent building. It's earthquake retrofitted and it's appropriate for just the whole dispatch center. And it is a big building, and the space that they have is kind of an awesome space in there. It'll have living quarters, kitchen, the dispatchers, and I'll go a little bit to dispatch. They're working 24 hours, 4896s. much like the firefighters are. There'll be an A, B, and C shift, every shift, and what's unique about that is, I've been teaching, I've been giving an overview, to all the new dispatchers as they come in. So we'll have the town chief will be attached to a captain that's permanently on that shift on the dispatch center with all the dispatchers. So the staffing will include, command control captain, dispatch supervisor, and 4 or 5 dispatchers. That'll be rotating through there per shift.
Was it an existing building and who is handling the construction?
So it is an existing building that I believe the county owns.
Yeah. County of Marin owns the building. It houses the entire sheriff's main facility, as well as the existing Marin County Communications Center. So it's a very robust facility. And it was originally a shell office building that was converted back in the 90s, Chief Waterbury.
Yeah, the old fireman's fund.
Oh.
By the YMCA.
Oh, that.
Okay, okay.
Oh, okay.
So who's the construction company that's doing the retrofit?
It's a private company. It's hired by the County of Marin.
You know the name?
What's
Well,
the,
the reason I asked, because I met with the chief of the Marin County Fire Department, Jason Weber, today. And he said he's very pleased with the construction company that's doing the work. And I said, oh, not like Station 654? He said, no.
ouch. I
Yeah.
thought the sheriffs were in that building that's right by the YMCA.
They are.
Yeah, that's it.
The old fireman's fund.
And so are we.
I'm thinking the one in Nevada.
Yeah,
That's what pictured in my head.
So this is the one where we used to have.
We used to have meetings there.
Yeah, it used to be based.
Yeah, it's right down the hall.
Or
It's
Chief
right
Gray.
down the hall.
Right, is that right next to Kaiser?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what the shifts will look like, and that's how many dispatchers will have. So one of the things that's unique to this is that we refer to a dispatch center, but it's what what's referred to as emergency command center. So the difference between a dispatch center and emergency command center is that the emergency command center actually has the responsibility of that incident prior to the first fire vehicle arriving at the scene. So that fire captain is actually, that's sitting in the dispatch, is actually the incident commander until the time that there's a fire unit actually physically on scene, which is dramatically different than we currently have. Right now, it's just the dispatchers, basic information coming in, dispatch going out. This one, we actually have an actual person that's actually making decisions on equipment, upgrading, downgrading, some kind of flexibility depending if it's a weather condition, like we have a storm where we just can't send the structure, we can't send everything that we normally send just because there's not that much equipment. So then they're allowed to downgrade or upgrade to see whatever's needed. So that's a really unique opportunity. It's the only command center like that that's dispatching local government agencies for the whole county in the Bay Area. Most of the Bay Area centers are not ECCs, they are dispatch centers. So there's a dramatic difference on how ours is gonna run. So it is a fairly robust system, which having some management and command and control on there, which is dramatically different than most of the other agencies. With that, they also dispatch Marin County Fire Agency. So Marin County Fire Department units, which they're under contract for CAL FIRE. So we get a kind of a mixture of both on there. So it's very unique to this dispatch center for sure. Like I said, it's Marin County Fire that's going to be overseeing it. Recruiting has started. This week we had an additional 4 or 5 dispatchers. So we had one session. The first session was mostly, believe it or not, Contra Costa County dispatchers that came over. This week we did training and it was mostly Redcom dispatchers from Sonoma County. And the last and final training, which will be coming up in the first week of May, that one will be the dispatchers that are coming from the sheriff department, moving over to the fire department. And there's 4 of those that are coming over. Out of those, they'll pick some supervisors, one for each shift out of those folks that they've hired there. Altogether, somebody was telling me, Weber was telling me like 200 years of experience that's actually coming in. So they're not brand new dispatchers. They all have some kind of experience, which you can see it as I'm having these conversations, doing the orientation with them. They're asking fairly advanced type of, they're not asking very simple questions. They're asking complex one. Yeah, these are thinking entities of the fire service that are actually engaged in their job as dispatchers. Perfect. This is what we want. So that's why as soon as we have that, this is going to be a great system, guaranteed. We're still using the Hexagon system, which is the normal dispatch system that we use from the sheriff department. So we're going to continue to use that. It's what Sonoma County uses. Yesterday we met with Cameron, which is the IT person that's kind of doing all the programming in them to get some final, what we call them ESCs were basically beats that we call them ESCs on first, but they're generally beats on what dispatches, what unit goes to that. We went over it yesterday to finalize some of the stuff on where the truck companies, because for, in our situation, some of the our truck company can't go on the hill on some of those because of tight streets, and we just don't need a truck company up there. So we did, some aligning of those districts around there. This morning we finished up with some aligning of the ambulance district. So we've been active participants of that. And one of the things that I've noticed in the past is that I think we suffer from by not being active participants, in some of the dispatch stuff. So we basically grabbed what everybody else said. There's no more of that. We're actively pursuing it and actually taking a leadership in some of this aspect to make sure that we're at City of Santa Cruz getting what we need. And our situation is much different. We have plenty of calls that justify our existence, so we're not searching for that. We're searching for sending the right resource at the right time to the right place, which is a little different than just us running calls. Sometimes we don't need a lot of equipment. We just need the right person, the one piece of equipment. So looking at modifying that as we go through the process. Let you, Thomas, go over a little bit on the finances and how that's working, how much it's gonna cost us.
Sure, so the finances are split amongst all the agencies that are participating, and San Rafael's share is one of the highest. So the county's share is the highest. It's a little bit complicated formula, but they take an initial chunk out of it through funds that they already are using for their existing dispatch, through fire, and through other means. They've done everyone a favor and taken on a larger percentage than their population would dictate. That leaves the rest of our agencies to pick up the rest. So we sit at about 24% of the share. So that's based off of call volume, population, and kind of a blend. So there's a blend. Population obviously doesn't change very much. It changes a little bit. So that one's kind of steady. Call volumes can change depending on trends and such. And they use, I think it's a 18-month, the past 18 months call volume data to kind of do that. So we don't expect that to vary very much, but that's about $1.25 million a year. We currently pay about $800,000 in the sheriff's department, so it's significantly more, with the caveat of obviously the added benefit that the Chief Running just discussed, along with the fact that I think the sheriff's office has probably not been charging their full rate, and we've probably been getting quite a deal with that.
And, sorry, is that out of the operations budget?
Yeah, so this is it's split. So it's split between our paramedic tax. So we generate about $5 million in property tax for the paramedic tax that we have here, $108 property, and 14 cents a square foot for commercial. We generated $3 million from billables for EMS. So a good portion of the 1.25 billion comes out of the paramedic fund, just due to the number of calls that comes out of there, and then the rest comes out of general fund operations. So that's the annual cost that we tend to pay, 1.25. It's capped at 5%, 5% yearly increase, which is based off of most of that's going to be based off of the wage increases that are negotiated through the dispatchers. Then there's a side piece. There's obviously a initial startup cost to do the tenant improvements at Los Gamos there, and so that came out to over about $5 million to do that. The county picked up the first 2 million of that, leaving the $3 million for the remaining agencies. So our one-time cost came out to 1.6 million. But the county has agreed to amortize that, basically give us a loan 15-year term at 2%. So we've accepted that term, which is pretty generous considering the current conditions with interest rates, and that basically is 123,000 a year. So our full in cost right now for our first year of operation is going to be about $1,368,000.
With that, we did, as we did the analysis on how the cost share was going to work out, we cover about 30%, 34% of the overall calls in the county. So justifiably, we would be on the hook for the bulk of that that money there. But like I said, Marin County was gracious enough to get some of the CAL FIRE money, and that's why we were able to bring the cost down. Originally, we looked at, what would it cost for Centerville to go back to doing their own dispatch, and we calculated anywhere from 2.3 to $2.8 million to be able to do that, so. And then the frustration of additional dispatching personnel and those, I'm gonna say issues with hiring right now, because nobody wants to be a dispatcher right now. So we would add that to our complexity that we already have with limited leadership that we have in management on that. That would create a problem for us. So basically 1.3 or $2.3 million with less issues. We went for the 1.3 model in this case.
Is that, I'm sorry, Chief, is that gonna impact any of the programs? I mean, you're gonna have.
As far as the budgeting that we're pulling away from another one,
Yeah, it's split between the general fund and the paramedic fund. We do currently have a fund balance, a pretty sizable fund balance in the paramedic fund, so. Initially, it's not going to. I think in a couple of years, we're going to see a point where it might with the escalating costs, and the paramedic fund is currently capped out. General fund, that's a much larger fund, and so that's shared amongst all the departments in the city. So right now, I don't think we're anticipating any immediate cuts to anywhere else to make up for that extra $500,000. We had already actually to. But last year, when we thought we had less time to stand this up, we had already set aside funding for, changing dispatch models, and we had actually estimated that it cost us 1.5 or 1.6 million. So we had already budgeted that for this year. We didn't end up using that because we're still with the sheriff. So it's actually came in less than we had initially anticipated. So I think we're actually quite pleased with how it ended up, where the numbers ended up.
So one comment I have is that we're very fortunate going to this system, especially with the officer on deck, et cetera, because there are cities, municipalities in California that have outsourced 911 system to places like Texas.
Yeah.
And they're dispatching, taking calls and dispatching places down in the south. And so, we're very fortunate that we're going the other direction.
Keep it at home.
ironically, the County of San Mateo Fire Department has actually reached out to Marin County for dispatch services to them. And Weber being the visionary that he is, Chief Weber from Marin County has already built out to the center to have enough room to house additional dispatch councils. So in the future, he does plan that, he does probably have this vision that other counties will come to him for dispatch. And, since it is gonna be a robust system that we'll probably be able to handle it.
With the benefit being that our costs will probably go down.
Yes.
By bringing on-
And so that's why it does benefit us in that long aspect, that it doesn't benefit us because our overall costs are down.
I have one question. How does the call get to dispatch first? That's not the first point, like you pick up the phone, call 911, it goes somewhere else first before it gets to dispatch, right?
Correct, it goes to the San Rafael Police Dispatch, the PSAP here. So by law, it has to be sent to PSAP and then they route it over to fire.
Okay.
That's what they have to work on emergency. As soon as they say fire, it gets transferred over. But it's a seamless transfer. So it's not like they have to wait, somebody answered it. It's being it's literally that you're not hearing on a skip.
It's almost like an intercom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And then they can listen in too, so that they're getting the information. They can even ask questions if they want, so they can start PD units as well.
yeah. And where's the PSAP located? Is that here?
so,
Okay. And is that for the entire county?
no, this is just for San Rafael.
Okay,
And in the county area, it goes directly to the sheriff department. So they are their own PSAP at that case.
okay.
As Chief Bernard took me up there today, the dispatchers are amazing. They're so experienced. One is taking a call, the other one looking over the shoulder, dispatching the company. The call taker is continuing to ask questions in case additional resources are out. It's all happening at once. They're very good at what they do.
And it'll get that much better, when Marin County, in my opinion, it'll get that much better when Marin County Fire takes over it. Just because they have the knowledge, we have the experience now, and it's like the perfect alignment of what you want in dispatch center. What the worst thing would have been if we didn't get any, dispatchers or any kind of, seniority or anything like that, and we would probably bring them in, and obviously start from the beginning. But the questions like, I have to think, a lot of those dispatchers were previous CAL FIRE dispatchers, sheriff dispatchers, like I said, Redcom, Contra Costa County Fire, all sorts of experience. So it's pretty cool to see that level of experience coming to work for us here. Well, to Marin County, but in a sense for us, since we're part of the money out for that.
When you said there's, aren't the firefighters now working 48 on, and then So the dispatchers will rotate and they're on 8-hour shifts?
They have an actual schedule on when their sleep time will be, so they'll be sleeping at certain times, so there'll always be, I think, 2 or 3 dispatchers on it available in that time. One of the important things that I was talking to the person that's kind of doing the program right now is that every one single person that will be in that dispatch, and I mean, the county control captains, the dispatch supervisors, all of them will be able to take the council and dispatch if they need be. So all of them will be trained to that same level also, so we actually have some redundancy already built into the system in case something bad happens, or we have surge or anything like that. We always have that building there. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Did I answer your question or?
Mine?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Oh, the schedule, I'm sorry. There's a sleeping schedule throughout the day that the dispatcher will be able to rest a certain amount of time on there. And like I said, there's sleeping quarters there. It's almost like it's gonna be like a fire station. Well, they'll be able to cook there and next to them, it's a fire station.
They work the same 48-hour shifts.
right.
And then certainly if there's an emergency, they could be woken up and they come in and assist also for that downtime. So it's a really unique system. Any other
Thank you.
questions or
Thank you.
concerns that you have with
Appreciate the update.
the dispatch center?
It'd be great to see it once it's
Yeah,
up
once
and
we-
running if we could.
Yeah, for sure. I'll schedule some time, so we go up there. So I'm eager to see it too when it's finally said and done. Apparently they were telling me they have this wall of just technology with screens of bridges and mountaintops and all that stuff, so they can quickly reference to it if they need to.
Live cameras.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's basically, then they call it the command wall or something like that, they call it. So,
That's pretty cool.
So just continuing along with the chief's report, below the update on the fire dispatch center is response data that we had every month. This is for March 2024. Just a brief update on facility updates. Pretty much everything's wrapping up now. We're just into minor punch list items, fortunately. So things are looking really good at our fire stations. Some staffing updates. Our 2 new cadets began work last month. We had a very successful captain's promotional process that occurred on March 28th to reestablish a hiring list for a promotion list for the position of fire captain. On page 4, yes.
On the cadets.
Yes.
Is that the Explorer program or is it?
No, it's one step up from the Explorer program. Chief, do you want to explain it?
yeah, it's, so the sport program is non-paid, it's volunteer, and it's through in theory, it's through the Boy Scouts of America. This is actually our employees that are just paid in hourly wage to do stuff around the fire station. So part of it is to expose them to the fire service. And then the other one is to support them through training or anything like that. So it's a twofold. And then there's a lot of stuff that just needs to get done every day, that we just need help with. So they'll be able to take on those tasks. During the captain's promotion, there was a lot of running around and there were the folks that were running around helping us out with that. So like I said, told you last time, it wasn't bad. It'd be me or Chief Center running around or running around, but luckily we got a little bit of help. And they're not full-time, they're just part-timers. But it does help a lot. One of the gentlemen is actually in paramedic school, and the other gentleman is actually from the canal and kind of just got his driver's license. So just learning how to work and do that kind of stuff. So it's a good mixture of somebody that's already someone in the track and the other one that's kind of looking for that track, but it really does help us to get people in line with that.
They've been responding to calls.
On the engine as an observer at this point, yes. So they've been issued gear and all that kind of stuff, so. But certainly there's no expectation that they're gonna be fighting fire, but certainly observing and kind of mentoring them through dark calls and that kind of stuff and exposing them. And then, I'm not sure if I said this in the past, but Station 57, I was able to get some racks put in there, some supply racks. They're like Costco type, they're really high up. I was able to get a full set of that to do some kind of EMS supplies, and that's kind of our supply area, so we'll be kind of eventually managing that part of it also.
Chief, I have one question on the response data.
Uh-huh.
Is it possible to ever see like historical comparisons of how the numbers have changed over
Sure.
periods of time?
Of course.
Or is that a part of the EMS study?
Well, we can provide some historical comparison, like same month last year.
Year over year.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. I mean, nothing, don't spend too much time on it, but it just anecdotally it'd be interesting to see.
I'll
how the
confer
numbers
with
compare.
Thomas. He's the one who generates the data.
Yeah.
I'd say it's no problem, but.
Yeah. Thomas will be right on this, Thomas.
He'll talk to you in the hallway.
We are moving to, hopefully moving to different, record management system here pretty soon. That'll be a lot more user friendly, so we'll be able to provide a lot more data, which we desperately need to justify anything that we do at this point. So for us, we need to do a little bit of investing in our RMS system to be able to provide that data a lot faster than we're doing right now.
The other thing too, that would be interesting to see data on is what you mentioned about having, with the new dispatch center, being able to maybe more optimally deploy. Are there savings there if you're not over responding or under responding?
No, you're right, and we can put numbers around it once we associate the call, the resources responding to that around an hourly wage and all that. So you can quickly identify if this is a lot cheaper model, this is a little more expensive model. And we just don't, and like right now, we're dispatched the same, doesn't matter if it's a still foot or a full-on cardiac arrest, we're sending in the same amount of equipment and resources.
Yeah,
So eventually we'll be able to figure that out. And that's another unique thing about the dispatch center is that right now it's a little bit difficult to get that information from the sheriff department just because it's just, you gotta triangulate it perfectly to be able to find the right person to be able to get that information on how you want it. Well, now with a captain, essentially, that's kind of, and one thing, let me go back a little bit. Not only is there a captain, there's an IT person, and there's also a command and control division chief, and they're hiring that position right now. It's a sworn division chief that's overall in charge of that dispatch center. And it's gonna be a Murray County employee, but right now it's not gonna be one of their internal employees. They're actually advertising that, they're recruiting for that position. But eventually it'll be as simple as my battalion chief calling the on-duty captain, say, can you give me the data on this set and can you it's like geofence it around this area. And right now we could do it. It just takes a long time to me. Like I said, I have to triangulate it and find the exact person to be able to get that information. Where we need, like I was trying to get some call data down on the little homeless area that we have down Mahone path there. Trying to get that, it took me a while to get that information, but it'd be great. Yeah, no problem, we'll got it here. What do you need? What dates do you need it from? This day, perfect, we'll do it. So like I said, I'm really looking forward to that information to be able to justify things that we're doing or that we're not doing. Also.
Then just continue along, kind of wrapping it up here. There's some updates from the various divisions, the training division, prevention update, on page 5, wildfire mitigation updates, for you, just informational. That kind of flops over onto page 6 as well. Then the deployment analysis standards of coverage study, pleased to report that we've got a fully executed agreement with the vendor, the contractor, and we have our first meeting tomorrow morning, a fact finding and just kind of laying out the process. So we'll have more updates on that as we roll forward. A brief update from the OES division, and then a quick update at the bottom regarding the Explorers. And that's the report for you.
How do we get the gutter covers? Contact, go to the website?
Yeah, there's a link there. So, yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
I should have waited.
You're being too refined.
I just finished doing them about 3 months ago. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm concerned that with the Northgate project and projects going down here, and knowing that you're understaffed as it is, are they including you in the planning process?
Yes and no. So one of the inherent problems that we have is that the general plan, the 2040 general plan included minimal growth that was expected. In the last 2 years, that has dramatically changed. So we've been having a lot of conversations with the economic development director to say, hey, how do we justify anything from now on? Because all of us are new to this. As a matter of fact, the cities need to get any kind of growth in it. So what they will right now referring to the 2040 general plan. What we're doing is this study to get additional information to see what we actually need, and that's where we're gonna put that information in there, and we'll probably reference that information We've had a lot of support. I'm not sure if you want to talk a little bit about Micah, about his support that he's been
Yeah,
giving.
Micah Hinkle is now the Community Development Director. He was formerly the Economic Development Director. And he fully understands our challenge attached to the potential growth that the city of San Rafael is going to see, high density growth, mid-rise, high-rise type buildings, mixed occupancy, commercial, residential. He fully understands our dilemma, both on the EMS side, that this dramatically increases the number of EMS runs, which is the bulk of our business, right? Especially with, for example, the new building that's slated to go right up here at 1515 Fourth, which is a retirement type facility. And these are becoming more and more popular because they're the most lucrative types of developments right now for developers. But they also pose the highest call volume for us because those are the people that need to be transported to the hospital on a regular basis. And what I've seen over the course of my career, and I'm sure you've both seen this too, is convalescent hospitals and retirement type facilities used to house their own medical staff. And so oftentimes you weren't called to these facilities because they handled it themselves. And they quickly found out, or they eventually found out, that they could drastically downsize these staff and just call 911. And just call us to handle practically everything. In fact, recently I heard Mill Valley Fire going to the Redwoods. You're all familiar with the Redwoods down in Mill Valley?
Yeah.
Corner of Camino Alto and Miller, I believe, for a lift assist. A lift assist at a retirement facility. So probably the business plan there is, they tell their staff, somebody falls out of bed or falls out of a chair, don't you pick them up. We don't want you to risk your back. We don't want the workers' comp. Call 911. Have the firefighters come do it. So no, this is what we're seeing now. This is our kind of our the trend in the calls. So
Have you had these discussions?
oh
with the
yes,
City council?
well, with
So there's-
Micah, with the city manager. Also, what we do is we have the opportunity right at the onset of a new project to voice our requirements and our concerns. And so we're quite clear, like Northgate, for example. Northgate could require us to have to increase staffing or put a fire station closer to that development because of its massive size. This is probably going to be the biggest development that Marin County's seen in modern history, is the Northgate Town Square, if it rolls out as predicted. Could have a significant impact in our ability to effectively respond to it and the rest of the area around it. And so we're quite vocal with City Hall in general, with our concerns and our projected needs. And the EMS study and the deployment study are two tools that we're going to use to be able to more objectively communicate our message.
Is there any state assistance, knowing that the state has put these mandates on increased housing? Are they providing any support since they're putting the mandate? Yeah,
It's
No.
another unfunded mandate.
No, absolutely not. They're not even engaged. As a matter of fact, they've made it more complicated for us. For like ADUs where we feel like it's a battle for us, and they put us smack in the middle of the sacrificing public safety.
Yeah, the number of ADUs in San Rafael has just exploded in size. So now where you had a single family dwelling on the street, you have a duplex or a triplex because you have the main dwelling. And a lot of people are squeezing in double ADUs. They're converting their garage to an ADU and then putting one in the backyard. And we're also seeing now small apartment buildings that have covered parking garages. They're wiping out the garages and making those ADUs. In fact, 2 of those permits came across my desk today.
I didn't know about that one.
So,
Don't forget the non-permitted ones.
Oh, yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, my question was just I wanted to make sure that as they were talking, as they knew they were gonna run up against, basically a brick wall. I mean, somewhere along the line, either the service level is gonna drop, or, if they wanna maintain a certain level of service, it's gonna take money.
And that's correct, Chief. So, and that's what we're kind of trying to figure out where we need to interject ourselves during the process. And that's been another learning as we're trying to go through this process, learning what we need to do. And we might have missed a couple on some of them, it's just because of the nature of the thing, but it's not for us being lack of astuteness to it. It's just that we didn't know where to put ourselves into and interject ourselves in that process. But certainly having this study behind us to verify and solidify what we're saying is something that's needed, because we can go screaming and everybody's gonna say the fire department wants this, the fire department wants this. And I'm changing that narrative, not the fire departments. The community needs this based on the growth that we have. And nothing to do with the fire department. It's just a community need. We just happen to be responsible for it to provide that community need, therefore, that's what we're launching it forward. So it's definitely not the fire department, the fire chief wants this or anything like that. It is a community need based on the assessments that we've done, the analysis that we've done. This is what we need. So it's like, it's a process for sure, but we're not getting frustrated with it. We just need to know and work with it and figure out where we need to inject ourselves. But it's a learning process for both of us.
Chief Stinnett, you mentioned that the developers, it's very lucrative for them to build these
Mhm.
retirement centers. Is the city, when you see other developments in other areas, if a developer wants to go into that community, they have to commit X amount of dollars to community services. Is San Rafael requiring that of these developers?
I'll interject a little bit. with that.
Yes.
So while we have all these projected developments that have been proposed, right? They haven't pulled any permits on any of them. So now, there's a point on where some amount of permits have to be pulled in order to do that, but in order to attract businesses here, there's also tax relief that we have on certain aspects of it. And this is my experience that happened at Berkeley. We weren't able to invoke any kind of taxes or any kind of specialty, anything, because the city wanted to get that development going. So therefore, it was 2 or 3 years before they even had to pay any kind of property tax on it to entice them to come in there. So we're kind of at that point there, and when we're trading lightly on figuring out where we need to be, because we do know that there's, it can't be one without the other. If there's no growth, then we can't ask for all this stuff. There's got to be some kind of growth. But like we're talking to Mike, he projects as soon as we get some actual permits being generated, that's where we'll start to, have that conversation a little more on there. But it is us, being politically astute as to what's going on, for sure.
So is there the ability to create a demand on these developers that they have to kick in X amount of dollars if they want to build here?
We could create special districts around those developments specifically
Yeah.
where there are impact fees. So we're looking at that and, once again, figuring out where we could actually inject ourselves to be able to do that.
Good.
But Micah has been a real asset to us. Historically, in my career, kind of the community development department, economic development, the planning department, they've got their own mission and goals. And really, the fire department has just kind of been separate and aside from that. In this case, no, it's really a kind of a team working together, and they fully understand and recognize our needs, and they're really trying to package them into the conversation. So we're in a really good position to feel.
Good.
When it's all over, Terra Linda is gonna wish they had Costco.
Yeah, I was just thinking the exact same thing.
So
I
the way we're
remember that.
manageable,
Yeah.
the multiple high rises in the little tiny area.
Yeah.
Chief Sclero, thank you. I will add a personal / commission note, which is not on the agenda. I wrote, after a number of individual conversations with everyone at the table, I wrote a recommendation having to do with an open position in the department. I sent it to 2 people. I sent it to the mayor, and I sent it to the city manager. And it was an endorsement of gentleman sitting at the end of the table for the job of chief. I received in return a glowing, on fire, no pun intended, response from the mayor. Just so you never heard that from me. And I'm assuming various and sundry political reasons, I have not heard anything from the city manager's office. But that's not why I wrote it. So, good luck.
Well, I appreciate that. I didn't know that, but I really truly appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for your support.
It was collectively our pleasure to do that. And I think our responsibility is.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, much.
Well, yeah. It's really kind of.
All right.
A little inside baseball. at the crab feed, I had a conversation with his wife.
Oh.
And through that, I discovered, yeah, he probably won it. So, you know.
I don't know if people want to chew on it.
The real chief spoke.
Yeah, right. Right. Okay, that, it takes care of not our official agenda for today, but everything that is on the agenda, minus the one item which will come up at every meeting until the end of the year. And that has to do with the anniversary. Now, I'm gonna turn it over here to Mr. Trung in a second, because he's done a boatload of work. But take one of these and pass them. These are just highlights of some things I've stumbled into. One of which is, when is the anniversary? Anybody at the table know?
Chief knows.
December 5th of
No.
1874.
No,
December 14th.
it's December 14th.
14.
Well, okay, see, I'm going with December 5th because of what I read online and what have you, because I think it's a little bit of gray on gray. That most likely, 5 guys got together on the 5th of December in 1874 and said, let's call ourselves a fire department. And then, doing the math, that would be 9 days later, something happened that made it official. The reason I say it was the 14th is I was having this conversation with Steve Mizrak. Dr. Mizrak is sort of a walking historian for the department. And I said the 5th, he said, no, it's the 14th. And then he sent me a photo of a document. And the document is from the original days of the department, and in it, it says established on December 14th. On the document. And so I think that's sans any other document that says the 5th. I think we should probably go with it. That said, it's December. We've got a little breathing room for the actual event. Although, as we'll hear, there are a number of things that can and should happen during the year. My own position and what I'm willing to just get working on right away is setting up certain proclamations that had take forever to get through the political process. But I've done it for other reasons before, and so I'm taking that element on to get one from the city, one from the state, one from any potato chips, whatever, that makes sense, and go from there. That said,
So, I've been doing my write outs with Chief Bernard. He's quite a historian for the department, so the chiefs are really busy, so basically we said we should do something. What can we do? So far, I've spoken to 2 captains, Captain Northern at Station 2, Captain Berkey here, Station 1. The idea of open houses can be just for 2 hours. We were thinking 10 a.m. till 12 noon on Saturday. Each house will have one, and we would spread that over once a month from May, et cetera, including Marin, which they can double up. Put it on a sheet, open house, the anniversary events. The big event would be, and this is just something that came up, and of having a apparatus parade on Labor Day. I just chose Labor Day. We would have it down 4th Street. Rigs, invite anybody who has a rig. If they're welcome to be in the parade. We can have a display of all the rigs that can stay here, including an open house of Station 1, including a dedication ceremony of this public safety building that has never been done, and an open house in the lobby. Now, when I say open house, it's limited to the apparatus bay and the public areas. But as Chief Waterbury and I discussed earlier, we've always said, if you work for the fire department, this is really not our firehouse. This is the taxpayers' firehouse. So we're engaging people in the neighborhood to come by. We can get fire prevention, material. Regarding Station 2, Captain Northern, we talked about including the, having an open house. There is a 1938 vintage apparatus that the San Rafael Fire Department still has. Chief, not too many people can drive it because you have a double clutch. Chief Waterbury used to drive that thing, so he can drive it. But for a short period, that can be on the apparatus floor at Station 2 for people to see. I spoke to Captain Northern about having a demonstration using the drill tower, throw the aerial to the roof, deploy hose lines. And of course, Chief, you can veto any of this stuff. We're just talking about.
This is great. I love it.
We want to get the firefighters association involved. We're getting the captains involved for each house because it's a lot of work. And a lot of the captains have said, this is great, that nobody wanted to take point in this, but we're glad that we're able to kind of put our heads together and do some things. We also were talking about, getting Dr. Mizrak and Larry Luckham to have display of historical photos. We were talking about, Ken sent me an email about having a coloring contest for the kids. Everybody has cameras on their phone. I thought maybe we could have a photo contest. It doesn't have to be where the firefighters are working, but it could be like some really nice firehouse photos with nice backgrounds or whatever. We want to make sure that we invite all the retirees to the open house here. We found a plaque of the fallen firefighters that was on the outside of Station 1. Where did we find that, Chief Sinat?
Where did you find it? Basically under my desk.
In
the mezzanine.
In the mezzanine, Chief Bernard knew it was. So we'd like to rededicate that here. And then there's a bunch of historical stuff so this is just ideas that we're talking about. I'm riding out with Chief Bernard on Thursday, so we're gonna try to get the captains of 54, 55, 56, 57, and Marinwood involved, so we just throw all these. And then we should figure out if there's any ideas what we should do on 9/11. We should do something perhaps on the anniversary day, and then I think the final event would be having some type of firehouse decorating at Christmas time. Because what we did in the city, decorate the firehouse, have a contest among the firehouses with money won charity or whatever. So the biggest restriction is how are we going to fund a lot of this stuff? We're saying that we have zero budget. Maybe we can get some of the merchants to donate, whatever.
Fire Foundation.
Yes, but this is not a commission project. Otherwise, this is just a very loose group of individuals who are doing this. So let's make that very clear. This is not a fire commission project.
But you're willing to take help.
Except for the fact that
Yeah.
everybody's on the commission.
Yes.
I'd be happy to help. I think a great idea would be get all the living fire chiefs, put them on a truck in the parade.
Mhm.
Chief White, Chief Gray. Who else is?
Martucci.
Martucci.
Yeah.
I think, who was before him?
There wasn't it.
He was there 50 years.
How long was he actually chief for?
40 years.
Oh, damn, I was young.
Wow. Yeah, everybody before him, yeah.
But there's banners to be made and there are some costs, and like Chief Bernard said, we shouldn't put the original photos out. We should probably replicate those.
Oh, absolutely.
Things like that. But I'm supposed to meet with the firefighters association, Anthony Alviso, because this is like, we gotta make sure that everybody is involved and we support each other.
Are you involving anybody from the foundation?
Um,
Can you,
I'm
Donna,
pretty-
can you get Larry, to- I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Chief Thompson to participate in that? And Doc Mizra has already had.
I'm sure
I think
my
both of them.
understanding is they already are committed to
Yeah,
it.
well, you know, that from some of the meetings, that I never walked out of there knowing what they committed to do.
And I'll tell you today, because I confirmed today,
Okay.
that we just purchased the badges for everyone. So,
Ah.
and they committed to that.
All right.
I am committing to, purchasing the belt buckles, and then for the firefighters will buy T-shirts and everything on their own also, and that's what that kind of stuff. So I think we got it spread out now where everybody's taking a little bit of the brunt of it. Thank goodness for the foundation, or else we wouldn't have any money for the badges, but that's a big deal for us, and, you know, the foundation is still, I mean, I think that they're the source of not necessarily providing money, but a fund that we could do the nonprofit, any money that goes to that they have that avenue already to be able to go through that.
Is this a badge that is just for the 150th?
Commemorative badge.
Correct.
So going back to that whole concept, that's exactly why we really need to bring people into the foundation. And this would be a great opportunity to get people to give donations to the foundation. I mean,
Yeah.
The more we receive, the more we can do for the department. So I mean, it's a win-win, but Len Thompson would be
Len.
your point man with the foundation, because he's gonna definitely want details and I just am real sure that they would be extremely supportive of backing this.
Could you provide the communication conduct between Len and Commissioner Trump?
Meaning,
An email that they
Oh,
can
yeah,
share information?
yeah, yeah,
so
absolutely.
a mutual introduction, so that, because I think both of you we're in alignment as to what all of us want to do, so.
yeah, absolutely.
You know, since it is really, we want to make it a community
Right.
process program. I think the Chamber of Commerce and the business community would like to be on this. Bank of Marin. So they're always good to help.
Think there's any state funds available, grant monies?
I don't know. We haven't researched that yet.
But yeah, I think that
I'll take a look at that.
And then the other one would be, our, wildland folks that are seeking opportunities to do public demonstrations out there, to provide information and that kind of stuff, so they're eager to participate in anything also. So. I thank all of you. And well, it's the, what do we call it? It's not NWPA, it's vegetation management?
Yeah.
Is it vegetation?
Management or on MWP.
John, I think what would be good is if, what you just explained to the commission, if you could put it in a summary format for me to then present to the foundation at our next meeting, that would be
Sure.
excellent.
Yeah, I'll be glad to come to your next meeting as well.
We
You got mine,
actually
Jim?
don't meet in
So
person.
I can be on Zoom or whatever.
We're not even, well,
Okay, whatever the case, I'd be glad to present anything.
sounds
And
good.
this is a work in progress. We just kind of have been talking, Chief Bernard has been a big help with getting this going. So it's a work in progress.
And, you know, one of the things that relieved a lot of pressure off of me is when I found out that it was actually December 1874. So in theory, I thought it was the beginning of this year, so I'm going, man, we are way behind.
Yes.
But we are behind, but not as bad as I thought we were. If you look at December, even if we did it next year, like pushed into next year, it's still within.
It's in the window.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'm hugely relieved with with the fact that it was actually December, so.
If anybody has contact names of sort of Bank of Marin or the Chamber of Commerce, that I can look them up online and figure with that as there. To follow by the rules, send that information to Thomas. He can send it to me, and I can do the first attack with a note from the commission, et cetera, et cetera. I have fabricated some stationery of our own. Amazing what you can do on a computer. And get the ball rolling.
I'm gonna back up to the point you just made about, it doesn't have to be December, the crowd feed is in January. It would be awesome to dovetail and do a big brouhaha at the crowd feed.
So, you know, once again, the foundation willing to support us on that, that would be like the big event,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then perhaps make it a little bit bigger than it has been in the past, just because we
Yeah.
are serving 150. And I would say that probably would have generated a lot more people actually attending it.
So back to what I said earlier, folks, the foundation really needs help.
And is it definite that it's gonna be in January again?
They're gonna bump it back, yeah,
Good.
because they realize,
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It just worked out so well.
It would-
Yeah.
I'm sure they're gonna, Len is very much committed to keeping it in January, not pushing it back to
Yeah.
December.
Yeah, but Chief Senator, if you can point me to who to talk to regarding parade permits logistics.
Sure.
You know, you might want to talk to as well to Ruben Marks to be appealing. Because we have to do that sort of little thing.
Yeah.
How they got the permit.
You know, I mean,
No,
just like.
There's an events committee here. I'll
Okay.
just point you in that
Okay,
direction.
great.
They better do this.
You never know. Play dumb and just ask.
It was, anybody know what happened to the 1957 American French rocket? The 100-foot arrow?
What year did that go missing?
Did it what?
What year did it go missing?
It was here when I left in 2005,
Wow.
but it's 100-foot, you know, two bed.
Maybe you could have that conversation with Chief
Yeah.
Bernard there.
Yeah,
Maybe
Yeah.
track that thing down.
Yeah,
That would
That
be
was
good.
an open cab.
my friend runs the Macintosh Pipe Band, so they're gonna, we can get them to lead the parade. And then, maybe, you know, with the hand carts, I think we can get the San Rafael High football team to help with that. So
No.
just get all these community people involved.
Oh, my.
Or make backpacking. Backpacking.
You know, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be asking all of you to help.
Yeah.
Of course.
And this is a very loose 150th anniversary committee.
Yes, it is,
But
as it should be.
as it should be, maybe it's easier that way. But anyways, that's where we are. It's a work in progress.
Awesome. Great.
Any other issues that should be on the table for today, since the recording is almost over, or will be partly? 3, 2, 1. This meeting is officially brought to a close. Thank you all.